It's Chance96 here with another review, this time of the Sandman Build-A-Figure from the Spider-Man 3, Marvel Legends line. So there you go. So this was a Build-A-Figure that I have really always wanted. At the time that it came out, I really wasn't big on collecting. I bought a few figures, but I wasn't like a collector. And this was just one that, I always wanted when I started collecting because, of course, at the time I started collecting, the figures weren't in stores anymore. And on eBay, to build him would just cost so much money, and to actually just buy a full Build-A-Figure was more than I was willing to spend. So I waited years, and at the most recent Comic-Con in Phoenix, I was able to pick up this guy. So here you go. So this, of course, is the movie Sandman, not comic, and a really interesting Build-A-Figure to make. Of course, Sandman, was the ideal choice for a movie Build-A-Figure of Spider-Man, because of course he's the biggest character, or could be the biggest character. As you can see here, he is in his just sand form. He's going nuts. He's got a huge scream on his face. Pretty neat. Just going into the detail and the sculpting here. As you can see, very cool. Really do like it. The sand-like appearance is pretty well done. Lots of good detail here. They really sculpted a lot to make it realistic and believable as sand, which was done extremely well. The paint was applied really nicely. This is a figure that was easy to screw up. I mean, because it's hard to make sand look like a toy, and they were able to do it, and they did it quite well. Really love the sculpting, and the paint was applied that complemented the sculpting extremely well, and really made it believable. The only thing is, of course, he does have joints. I mean, the joints are definitely prevalent in the shoulder joints here, the ball hinge. You can see that's a ball hinge. I mean, there's not really much that they could have done, I guess. I mean, they could have sculpted the joints so that they look a little bit like Sandy, but I understand why they didn't. They're trying to give you the maximum articulation possible, being that this figure is very limited articulation, but for an obvious reason, so really don't mind it. As you can see here, wonderful sculpting, really sand-like, and really well done throughout. Of course, he does have two human elements. He's not completely sand. His face and just in the crotch piece right here, he has his belt and everything. I find that kind of interesting. I wonder why they decided to do that instead of just making it all sand. I think it looks good that way, though. It gives him, like he's a regular person. You don't just think he's a big sand with a regular head on him. So I like that they did this, because if they didn't, it would just look odd. People that didn't know him would just think he's a big sand monster with a regular head. So I liked the fact they gave him the belt. As you can see, the face sculpt here is pretty good. I mean, it definitely resembles Flint Marko from the Spider-Man 3 movie. The only thing that's weird is he doesn't have the bottom jaw. It's very hard to tell because he's got limited articulation, but here, like you can see right through his mouth. I think that was a very interesting choice. I don't know if they did it just to be cheap, or if they were actually trying to do something cool, because you can see the sand on the inner part of his mouth when you look at it like this. So I think that it's a pretty cool element. Whether they were trying to make it a cool element or just save money, I don't know, but I think it worked out, and I'm pretty happy with it. As far as articulation, it is severely lacking. Typically with Build-A-Figures, we get some nice articulation. This one, not too much, unfortunately. He has a bulge-on head, which can look down, but it can't look up. And it can swivel quite a lot to the left, and swivel very lightly to the right, because of the way that his neck is kind of sculpted like this. This is going to be how you're going to put him. He's got a bull hinge shoulder, so you can just move that, as well as it is on a ratchet bicep, so it can swivel. Same thing on the other side. And then down here, he's got swivel here and swivel here. I mean, there's no point for those swivels, though, because there's no other combination that would look half decent. So this is definitely the only way you're going to keep it. You can, raise the arms, I guess, but I don't know. I haven't seen, anybody in a different combination than just this. This is definitely the best combination. Everybody knows it, and this is the way that everybody displays it. So when you're buying this, essentially, you're going to buy a statue, because this is the way it's going to sit, and there's nothing really you can do with it other than that. So if you're not into that kind of stuff, wouldn't recommend it. But if you do like it, and you're a big fan of Sandman, and you like the stance of his, then it's a pretty cool Build-A-Figure. As far as his size, let's do some size comparisons, and I chose some shorter Build-A-Figures to compare with him, because he's a very short Build-A-Figure, unfortunately. he's a decent size though, so it's hard to penalize him. The only thing that I don't like is though he's a decent size for a basic 6-figure thing. But if I'm not mistaken, it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think that you needed to buy 8 figures to complete him. So an 8-figure Build-A-Figure should be bigger, because he is a nice size for a 6-person Build-A-Figure, but for an 8 he should be bigger. So I'm not a huge fan of the size. But nowadays, you know, it's hard to complain when nowadays our Build-A-Figure is this tall, and you know, that's as good as it gets. So it's, for the time period, I think it was too small. Nowadays though, I mean, ours are so much smaller, it's not even funny. But as you can see, here he is with some short Build-A-Figures. He looks pretty good. He is definitely the tallest out of the two, if you don't include Mojo's his like whatever tail. I think that his arm does go a little bit higher than his tail though, so yeah. But overall he's pretty cool. You definitely get more plastic with Mojo, but you get more plastic with Sandman than the Arlem Zola. So back then, like I've said, he's a small Build-A-Figure, but nowadays he's a big one. So it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. So overall, a decent size. But the thing is, like, if I don't picture Sandman turning into this big sand monster and just being a human size, because that's pretty much what size he is. So I expect him to be like a big guy when he transforms into this huge sand monster. But I think the perfect Spider-Man to go with him is this one, the Amazing Spider-Man movie, Ultra Posable Spider-Man. I think that this is pretty awesome and really fits with the Sandman. You can do some cool poses. I've got him to stand upside down, just holding on with his hands to the top of Sandman's hand. It's pretty cool looking, I have to say, and I think that this is a perfect scale, really fun. You can do a lot of cool poses with Spider-Man trying to fight this huge monster, Sandman, and overall I think it's cool. One last comparison, my only Spider-Man 3 toy that I have left. I've sold every other figure that I've had from Spider-Man 3, but here he is. As you can see from just the basic 6-inch line, not the Build-A-Figure line, but the basic 6-inch line. As you can see there, pretty nice. Kind of neat to compare them. Overall, the sculpting work on this is fantastic. I really like it. The paint is done extremely well. The size isn't great for the time period, and he's definitely an interesting Build-A-Figure. You've got to like Sandman, and you've got to like the movie Sandman. If you don't, totally pass on this one. I totally don't recommend it. There's a lot of better Build-A-Figures. But if you are a fan of Sandman, then this is definitely a very cool one. It's gonna catch some eyes because, you know, toys on your shelf, they've all pretty much got, you know, a regular face. There's nothing too crazy about them. But this one, just this big sand monster screaming face, you know, he's gonna catch some eyes, which is pretty cool, and I definitely like it for that. So there you go. So that's my video review of the Spider-Man 3 Build-A-Figure Sandman. Thanks for watching.